Yo guys, welcome to the last lap. Don't forget to drop a lovely, juicy 5-star rating if you're watching on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Hope you enjoy, and let's get into it. But outside of teams that are new to come in, I did want to briefly talk about McLaren, because I've seen a bit of talk online about McLaren's momentum. Yeah. You look at 2022, they finished 5th in the Constructors. 21, they finished 4th
in the Constructors.
2020, they finished 3rd. Obviously helped by Ferrari fumbling the bag. They've lost Andreas Seidel as well.
Yes.
The new wind tunnel delayed because of COVID, so it's still not here yet. That won't, the 2023 car is still going to be based off their current wind. I think it's Toyota's wind tunnel that they use at the moment. I've got to be honest, I'm a bit concerned. I just wanted to bring it up because I wanted to see what you guys thought in terms of McLaren's momentum kind of going forward, I guess.
I fully understand why Andres moved, because he's already got those links, with like Audi, with working prior. So I can understand why he's made the move. However, I do agree that it is causing some red flags that, the team leader, the team principal, the way he works is very different to how other different team principals have gone about it. But to have such a huge figure like himself, and also Ricciardo as well. I know he's not as instrumental anymore, but having those two big characters of your team go, it's kind of left on your own a little bit. Like, you've still got Zach, who's obviously he's also the main owner, and you've got Lando Norris as well. We've got this new driver, Oscar Piastri. You've got this new team principal, who I don't know, I can't remember his name.
Andreas Stella.
Yeah. That's going to be hard. Andreas Stella.
Stella.
He's from the technical background, if I remember correctly.
So he was at Ferrari for a long time. He was Fernando's race engineer for years at Ferrari, and then he's been like senior at McLaren for a while.
Yeah,
I just think he's coming in,
but it's also the team already. It's not like a new person as well. Like, they already know who he is.
They do know.
So it's promotion from within.
Yeah, exactly that. It's just like it's kind of what we've seen with Binotto. It's like, can this person become the team leader? It's not about striving the team. You need a proper leader to put you in the right direction, and that's why Binotto, in my opinion, was not the correct choice for Ferrari.
Yeah. Even though he's so knowledgeable and
you got all the ingredients there to make something good, but if it's not gone into the right direction, then there's no point for it, and that's what we kind of saw with Ferrari. But then with McLaren, if you don't have the right leader there, that's why I'm always bit hesitant. But obviously we don't know where team principals you can't just get a pool of team principals from and pick whoever you want to be the best leader. But it's ultimately, can this new Andres come in and be able to drive the team into that winning direction?
You know what? It's interesting, actually. When you said about the constructors' sort of decrease over the last couple of years, and it's not crazily drastic or anything. You kind of expect McLaren to be at this point in their lifespan to be in that 3rd to 5th bracket, right? I just didn't even realise that there'd actually technically been that drop of each year, and I feel like that's something that's actually gone under the radar. Because for me, I've always maintained, I think that McLaren are going to be the next team, in this cost cap era, that kind of make their way up towards winning races on a regular basis. I don't trust Alpine to not just fuck it up at the.
If you look, that's more down to the reliability.
With Alpine, especially last season, the pace was definitely there. It shouldn't have even been a battle realistically for 4th in the Constructors' Championship.
Shouldn't have.
The fact that it is a fumble from them.
But that's what I mean. That is, look, Ferrari fell off in 2020, right? We all appreciate that, and that was a big part of why McLaren were able to finish 3rd. But also, Alpine did clearly outdevelop McLaren and had a stronger racing car.
Well, I mean, if you look at the start of the season, obviously I was quite invested in how McLaren were doing this season, but that first Grand Prix at Bahrain,
oh my God,
was a big concern.
We all had to have a big hug afterwards. We all all right, see you later, everybody. Might as well just write us off.
We're taking the year off, lads. Views are down. That's literally So from that perspective, when you compare it to the first Grand Prix of the season, obviously they've maybe just been a bit of a victim of the regulation change in comparison to like a Ferrari who's absolutely smashed it, Alpine who clearly made big strides as well. But there's definitely got to be a bit more of a positive direction next year.
Well, I just think there's more of a challenge from behind now, because Aston Martin's momentum was fantastic by the end of the year. You've got Andreas Seidel, who's gone to Alfa Romeo,
and then you're going to have that Audi backing over the next few years as well.
And they're
literally,
and I can speak firsthand. Their headquarters they've got in Germany is insane.
Yeah, been there,
facilities have
Because
already been
I've been lucky enough to visit there because my old race team, Envision Virgin Racing, I used to go to, we used to test track at their place in Germany.
Right.
And as soon as you walk in, like, it's insane. Like, I've been
Wait, so this isn't Himwell? Not the base in Switzerland? Did you mean
Switzerland? Yes, sorry, Switzerland, I believe.
I was like, you
Yeah, not
went to the
Germany,
wrong
not Germany.
country, man.
Same language, different thing.
Yeah, straight to Audi.
I was like, they're in Germany?
I was there for 2 days. I was very hungover the first day, so I can't remember.
He doesn't know what country he was in.
You don't speak English here. What's going on? No, but the facilities they have there.
Must be me. Brexit. It's a Brexit episode. Fucking hell.
What's all that? Where's fish and chips? Come on. No, but the facilities there was insane, and they've got so many different test tracks they have on, and then in their configuration. It's a little bit like Ferrari with their own test track as well. And they also literally have water sprinklers where if you want to test out wet weather racing, they have the sprinklers coming out, and it's insane.
Bernie Ecclestone's wet dream, man.
Exactly that, yeah. So they're fully prepped for it. That's why I'm really, really gassed up about how they're going to do with.
Well, there's
the new
a
year.
reason that Audi went to them after they went to McLaren.
Yeah.
Because it seemed like they tried to, buy out McLaren. That was the initial idea for Audi. But
There was a huge financial issue as well because there's parts where they had to actually start filling off their old heritage cars from the MTC.
Yeah.
Because they literally
well, they
were
were
running
relying on that Bahrain kind of fund. What was it? I think it's Bahrain.
something along those lines.
part
But it's
of the
because
empire, right?
they're lacking funding, and that's just purely just due to COVID. And even when you got somewhere like the MTC, which is like one of the most iconic pieces you could look at in terms of a team a home base, when they're having to flog their own cars, it's just because it's that. But
I just think this is such. I know we can say this about a lot of teams, but I think it's such a pivotal year for McLaren to prove that they can maintain their strong position at the front of the midfield with all this pressure from behind. Even like a team like AlphaTauri, you got to think they're probably going to somewhat turn it around. Like they had a bit of a shocker, but they know how to deliver a good car. I worry that if McLaren don't switch it on now, you look at all the momentum behind Aston Martin at the moment. You look at Alpine have got a strong package, and Renault, they are one of the biggest.
Strong driver lineup
we
as
write
well.
off Alpine all the time, but they're essentially Renault's one of the biggest car manufacturers in the world. They've got that support there. McLaren is still a privateer team, and it's I am concerned, and we've talked about this before on the podcast about Lando and how he's doing an incredible job, and McLaren needs to prove to him that
More than anything,
because he's got that deal,
but now you've got a rookie
contracts
as a
can be
teammate.
bought out. Yeah. It happens. You know what I mean? Piastri's an unknown. I just feel like there's a lot of I don't really have a team that I particularly pull for, but I would say if I had to pick any team, I'd probably say McLaren because of the history and I've been there a couple of times.
I think
England and all
I
Exactly.
personally think they're going to be comfortable P4, maybe
Do you
P5
think though?
in champ. Yeah,
I wouldn't put money on it.
it's just purely because there's been so much hype around Oscar Piastri. Lad's only driven the car once
that
with the Abu Dhabi test.
Pay the
as it
bills?
were.
Does hype pay the bills?
Hype does not pay
No,
the bills.
Can I go
But
to
he's
my
very good.
landlords and be like,
The only
I've
thing,
got a lot of
honestly, the only thing I can see
Imagine that
going for him is
That'd be
because
great.
he's a rookie, rookies are able to adapt a bit more to cars and such. That's where I think Ricciardo massively struggled.
Yeah.
And obviously, this is the only F1 car that Lando's ever driven. So he's not going to know anything different. Obviously, the car's been tailored around him. Although Lando very much has been negative of how the actual car drives. It's not as optimum. It's not great. Can Oscar come in driving a brand new machinery and be able to get to the same level as Lando in this first season? For me, no. And I would love to be proved wrong.
Off a season out as well.
that would
of a
be a
season out.
huge ask.
And yeah, exactly. But this is the thing. That's what McLaren are needing, and that's what they're wanting from that. And there's been so much drama around this whole tweeting bullshit going around with the whole Alpine stuff.
Yeah, but it's funny though.
Yeah, and it's so funny to watch. It's seeing a house on fire. You can't just stop the car.
We still got
and
Drive
watch
to
it.
Survive to come.
Totally.
We haven't even got Drive to Survive.
God.
Exactly. And it's you got all this pressure, and now it's going to be I don't think it's going to be the pressure on him. I think everyone's just expecting him to be up here when actually it's going to be more reality down here.
Yeah.
And it's not me slating on Oscar's actual performance. I really rate him as a driver. I just think people have so overhyped the situation. Even that's why we're talking about it now, because it's been so overhyped.
Yeah.
That I think there's going to be an necessary expectation.
The hype is deserved.
It is deserved.
You look at Logan Sargent. If he performs P10, for example, at Williams, everyone's going to be like, oh, doing absolute bits. If he gets P18, oh, that's expected because you're in a Williams. If you're looking at Oscar Piastri, if it's the same expectations around, you're going to look at him more negatively because you think he's doing worse because of the car he's in.
For what it's worth, there's a slight grain of salt situation when it comes to McLaren in terms of constructors level, because no offense, Daniel Ricciardo, that might, to an extent, might as well have not even been there for the second season.
Yeah,
You're looking
Landed
at you're looking at a one-driver team, really, that kind of competed with Alpine.
Mm-hmm.
If Oscar can come in, he doesn't need, say Lando's here, he doesn't need to be here. He just needs to be like here. And that's better than Ricciardo who was here.
Yeah, if Ricciardo was
going to
there,
be honest, he just needs to be somewhat providing some points where Daniel wasn't last season, and you will see a massive jump, I think. They're not as close to, like they were, if we're going to be honest, a level above Aston Martin in terms of what Lando could provide very regularly, pretty much every Grand Prix.
Yeah.
It was just the fact that Daniel was like, kind of on the edge of the points or outside of the points for a lot of the season. If Oscar can do anything to even come moderately close to Lando, then it might not be.
If you had two Landos, the team would be doing.
I mean, if you had two Landos, the team finishes easily fourth in the constructors.
It's just, I just think that next year, I think, in 2022, you had Alpine, McLaren, and they were very kind of established competitors.
Yeah.
They were close to each other. Alpine had an advantage pace-wise, but also more on reliability.
Yeah.
I think next year, I think Aston Martin are going to be up there.
Yeah.
Based off of their pace in the second half, like you have to look at your most recent race.
Of course.
And Vettel was extracting mad performances out of this Aston Martin. They should have been they should have comfortably beaten Alfa Romeo by the end if it wasn't for the strategy bollocks up at Abu Dhabi.
Of course.
Yeah.
Like Aston Martin I'm sure will be part of that top end midfield conversation.
Yeah.
At least maybe even Alfa Romeo as well. If they can replicate what they did at the start of the year.
Base being built at the moment as well, which is not going to be ready till next year.
So then it could be 14.
Yeah.
I just feel like if McLaren could easily, I think they could easily slip to 7th in the constructors next year.
Ooh.
I think they could easily do that.
Who else though?
Wow.
'Cause they would
Behind Alfa and because they finished 5th.
behind Alfa Romeo as well.
Alfa Romeo and behind Aston Martin, they could.
This is a sneak peak for Tommo's predictions at the for this year.
I'm not saying it will happen.
because you didn't get anything right last year, so actually continue to say it.
I'm not saying it will. I'm just saying it could. It could happen. You look at Aston Martin's pace at the end of the year; they caught up.
Yeah.
They all in all caught up. If Alfa Romeo can sort that, and they've got Seidel, they've got McLaren's guy. They took him.
I hear Aston.
They nabbed him.
I don't hear Alfa Romeo.
Yoink.
They don't have the driver lineup for
This
it.
is out. This is the
not
last year.
Audi yet,
This is the
though.
last year of Alfa Romeo. Everyone knows
exactly.
they're coming.
Yeah,
Audi are coming.
Not now, not next
coming.
season though.
They're coming.
After that,
Quick
maybe.
question though, talking about Aston real quick. I just want to get your opinion on it. Obviously, Alonso's coming in. If Alonso is outperformed by Stroll,
It's not going to happen.
this is the thing. It's like
He has to retire.
It's not going to happen. Yeah. No, if that
I
did
didn't want to
happen,
say it.
that's it,
Yeah,
done.
no, I think it's back to Indy for Fernando.
Yeah, that's
All
it.
I'm all saying.
But
I can't see that happening. He was like genuinely so fucking unlucky last season when it comes to.
Just the reliability.
I mean, Jesus
felt
Christ!
so
Was
bad
it
for him.
Six retirement.
Jeddah, Singapore? Did he break down in Singapore?
They both broke down at track as well.
Mexico as well.
Technically Austin, but not really because they disqualified him. But not,
Yeah, but
then
then
they didn't.
undisqualified.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was just so
The
many
one time the
missed
car
opportunities
worked, he destroyed it and he still finished the race.
There is no shame in being beaten by Fernando Alonso. Like to say a
Lance, we're looking
driver's
at you.
gonna get
Depending on his age, yes. Yeah.
like, no, but like any driver. Like I'm not being funny. The amount
Mario Andretti comes back into the car at 83 years old.
Alonso.
They won a championship, lads.
No, but there's no shame in that. But I just look. All I'm saying is I can see if they're not on it, if they're not on their job,
Yep.
it could happen.
No, they do have to be on their job. I just think for me, the driver lineup of McLaren is
On paper, it's
so much
Different
better than say
gravy.
Alfa
Can't
Romeo,
wait.
and so much more balanced still for me than Aston Martin.
Yeah.
That you, even if the car is fine, is behind Alpine, which it could easily be, and it was last season. It was just the reliability that let Alpine down. Still, for me, I think you've got two drivers that can really extract incredible amounts out of that car.
Yeah.
Aston, you've got one driver who can extract a lot, and Alfa Romeo, you've got.
I just
They're
can't
just
wait.
going to be on the level of the car for me.
Can't wait.
23 is going to be
Wait.
sick.
I can't wait for
I'm
the
so
season.
excited. And now it's actually 2023. If I look at my phone, it's like, oh, 2023.
Yeah, it's that period though when you were at school and you'd write 2022 down and you'd be, oh shit, you'd have to write the 3 over the top of it. We were
like,
still in that area
towards
right now.
the end of last year, I was still writing 2021. I'm like, oh, are you 2020? Yeah, we are 2020. Now it's
Yeah.
23, and I'm
Also,
rubbish,
we've had a bunch of the car launches announced as well.
Yeah.
We have. I think it's like 5 teams now.
Yeah, like middle of February.
I think
Pretty much all of them.
McLaren are the most recent one to do it, to announce it. So
Yeah, McLaren, Red Bull,
Their
Aston
own Valentine's Day or
Martin.
something, it's like
Yeah,
in
probably.
yeah.
Romance.
All right. That's a different podcast.
Right, time for Last
That is
Lap
a
After
different
Dark
podcast.
now.
OnlyFans content coming right up here.
Peggy 18.
Minton's working up for it.
Yeah.
Do you want to do some
Calm
OnlyFans?
down, sausage.
Do you want to do some
No more.
OnlyFans?